Welcome to another episode of the Online Prosperity Experience podcast. You're about to hear your host, Prosper Taravinga's powerful digital marketing strategies and actionable tactics that you can use right now. Prosper has helped more than 50,000 people from over 10 countries to create meaningful businesses that are profitable and enjoyable. Listen to this podcast so that you too can build your own business with less stress and overwhelm. Let's get started.
Managing fear in your business is key to achieving your goals. As you would know, if you're passionate about doing the work that you're meant to be doing, especially if it's work that matters, and living an inspired life while you're doing so, then you've come to the right place. The Online Prosperity Experience is on a mission, and Prosper himself, who is talking, and why am I speaking in third person? Okay. I'm on a mission to help coaches and consultants like yourself to build a brand that you're proud of and create a lifestyle that you love. But let's talk about something that affects every single person as long as they have blood going through their veins. Fear. False evidence appearing real. The one thing that I realized when you're starting your business is everything is scary. Okay, you don't know where you're gonna get your leads. You don't know if people are gonna love what you're doing. You're afraid what are you gonna do if you actually become successful. All of those fears are real. And if you can manage these fears in your business, you will definitely be on your way to achieving your goals. And I can understand right now you're probably thinking, I'm trying to grow my business, but how do I do it? Should I go out cold calling people? But you're afraid that you have all those people hang up in your face. And should I be sending out maybe emails? You're afraid that you know all those people will tell you off for spamming them, and you are afraid of maybe wasting thousands of dollars on ad spend without even generating any qualified leads, and you're also afraid that maybe no one wants to buy what it is that you're selling because you're not making any sales. And if you really rely on your business to put food or pay rent, man, this could put an enormous strain on your emotions. And one of those biggest emotions is fear, my friend. So no business owner, especially if you're a coach, consultant, or small to medium business who is out there putting their consulting, their training, their information, their expertise, is immune to fear. If somebody tells you that they're not afraid of anything, man, that person is lying to you, and you want to run away from them as far away as possible. All right? Keep a safe 6 feet distance from them. All right. A lot of us are afraid of the pandemic, afraid of market downturns, anything that you can think of. We're afraid of failure. We're even afraid of putting ourselves out there. Putting yourself on a podcast like this is very nerve-wracking for a lot of people. And fear kills so many hopes and dreams out there. And I know it affects everyone from time to time. So if somebody's going to tell you that they're not afraid, maybe they've done a lot of work on themselves, so much that they're no longer afraid what anybody else thinks of them. But let me tell you what fear does. Fear actually, you should use it to your advantage. You know why? Because fear is the great equalizer. All right. Even big name billion-dollar people like Oprah usually shake before they actually give their own speech. And if they're confronted with fear and anxiety, they retreat like the best of us. All right. So you should actually use that to your advantage and know that everyone is afraid. So whenever you show up in a networking event, or you show up at any consulting gig, just be cognizant and aware that most of the people that are in that room are even afraid of being there. So you are at an advantage if you know that fact alone. So if we're all fighting some sort of a battle that's happening in our lives, we're dealing with some sort of fear. I know one thing for sure. I'm afraid of letting my family down. I'm afraid that all the work that I'm doing is going to amount to nothing. So every single time I'm showing up, at an event, or I'm showing up at any marketing, networking or something of that nature. I just want to get it right. But what matters? Why does this matter? Because the difference actually lies in how you choose to manage that fear. You can either let that fear cripple you, or you can actually let it propel you. So no one is immune to fear, and as long as you know that, then you should actually be putting yourself head and shoulders above anybody else, because now you can feel the fear and do it anyway. So if you have started a business, maybe you're a coach now, a consultant, or small to medium business, you're literally familiar with a few common fears that a lot of people have. Okay, we've got a fear of being judged, we've got a fear of rejection, we've got imposter syndrome, we've got a fear of failure. It's some people are afraid of success, and there's this one thing that we don't want to not be in the know of what's actually happening, which is the fear of unknown. So all of these fears are already crippling your competitors. They're already crippling anybody else that you're coming across. And if you already know that, just feel that fear and do it anyway. Right. So a lot of people are afraid of success. A lot of people are afraid of failure, and a lot of people are afraid of the unknown. And half of the world is afraid of rejection. And all of these are common fears, that literally rise their heads when when anybody's starting anything. When you are starting any project, you are definitionally, by definition, a rookie. All right, you are at the bottom of some pecking order. There's already people that have already been on that journey, that already know better things, that are already trusted in your industry. So obviously you're going to be afraid that you're not going to show up as good as those people. But what you need to understand is there's always a starting point, and everybody will give you the benefit of the doubt if you just show up and prove yourself. Okay, half of the time we always want to stay in our comfort zone, but if you stay in your comfort zone, profit is not made in your comfort zone. You're better off maybe having to return to a safe 9 to 5 job with your tail tucked between your legs if you can't maybe generate leads or actually grow your business, just because you're crippled with failure. So it's important for you to actually remember that it's quite normal to be afraid. When I started this podcast, I was afraid, what if people don't listen to this? What if people don't like what I'm saying? But, the more you do something, the more you have knowledge that, hey, I've done so many of these episodes. Now it will be remiss for me to actually stop now. You know what I mean? And that, maybe the first episode was a bit rough, but guess what? People are still listening every day. You know what I mean? People are still responding back to me saying, hey, because of you, I'm not giving up. Keep doing what you're doing. And now I know how to manage my fear. And, you can literally move forward in your business knowing what you know now. I just think fear is predicated on the fact that you don't have enough knowledge. I was once threatened to actually lose my business at some point because I had an outstanding bill, and the guys went through the cleaners to actually really, really cripple my business. And I didn't have any knowledge of how I can respond to letters of demand. I didn't have any knowledge of how to respond to legal papers. And when you start knowing that you've got 21 days to respond to anything, and you start knowing that they are also afraid that if you, give a rebuttal to whatever it is that they're saying, they are now faced with all the legal fees that they using lawyers to get to you. So everybody's just afraid out there. And if you just have that information and knowledge, guess what? You will definitely go through all the things that might threaten the livelihood of your business. But it's important to remember that being afraid is normal, and that you can actually manage your fear in a way by, educating yourself around anything that you're afraid of. Because picture this. Have you ever gone skydiving? Okay, because when you go skydiving, you usually go tandem, right? And you go with an instructor. Do you know every time that you're afraid to jump out of a plane, the guy who's going to be jumping out with you is doing that at least 3 to 4 times every single day? And he is kissing his kids goodbye and is kissing his kids good night every single day, and nothing has happened to him. Right? I mean, yes, accidents do happen, but he now has the knowledge that it's not going to be a problem. And if you had that same knowledge of knowing that you're just going to jump out of a perfectly functional plane and land on your feet with the help of an experienced person who's doing it 3 or 4 times every single day, that knowledge in and of itself would actually stop you from the fear of enjoying the experience, because the whole experience of skydiving is the experience of free fall, actually allowing yourself to not be in control. That in and of itself is a very, very liberating experience. All right, you need to clench though, because otherwise, if you let go of a lot of things, gravity will do a number on you. All right, but once you know that you're still gonna land on your feet, unclench. Just enjoy the experience, because you're going to do it once and you're going to waste everybody else's time, money, and effort having flown you all that way, emitting carbon into the atmosphere, and you're maybe afraid to actually do the jump. Right? So if you're running a business, obviously, yes, you're jumping out of a plane and figuring out whether you've got a parachute or backpack on your way down. I want to give you 7 steps so that you can manage the fear in your business and you can tackle everything that comes your way. The first thing that you got to do is you got to go on a journey for self-education. The more you know about things, the less you're going to be intimidated by them, period. Have you ever noticed I don't know, kids these days don't have to go through what we went through, man. We used to be very afraid of approaching girls or, sending girls letters or things of that nature. These days, you just swipe right. And even though you're still afraid of rejection, right? Now, can you imagine you had to do the whole process, ringing the person, arranging dates and things of that nature? These days, it's all being done by an app. But, you can imagine there was so many opportunities for you to be rejected, and there was a lot of fear. But you know what, people are human and they understand, and they'll give you the benefit of the doubt if you choose to take yourself out of your comfort zone. So no matter what fear you're facing, there are always ways for you to effectively manage it. And even if you can't make it go away immediately, if you just know that everything, this too shall pass, guess what? You just go through the emotions of whatever you're going through, and you literally, come out on the other side as a willing participant to do it again. So what you can do, first of all, is just take a step back. All right. If you find yourself afraid of a few things, take a step back, center yourself, view your situation more objectively so that you're more likely to see the potential solutions in front of you, because you can't see the picture if you're inside of the frame. All right. Half of the time we get so bogged with stuff, overwhelmed, and we become very anxious because we are not quite aware of everything that needs to be done in order to get past whatever we're going through. So in these 7 steps that I'm going to be walking you through, you can literally use them to calm yourself and to consciously manage fear, especially when you're in business. All right. And that way you will be of much help to your clients. You can market your business in ways that you've never really thought of, because you're not just responding to or you're not just reacting to anything that's coming your way. You're actually responding. Okay. One of the things that you need to do, you've got to be aware of the fear. Are you aware what's actually happening? Because like anything else, the first step in changing anything is to be aware of it. Are you aware of what's happening, or what are the ramifications of what it is that you're actually afraid of? Because sometimes our brain magnifies certain things when they're not even supposed to be amplified. Okay, so awareness of fear usually starts by maybe you notice your body signals. Is your heart starting to race, or do you feel a pang of anxiety in your stomach? People usually call it butterflies or jitteries, or you know what I mean. Trust your gut instinct. All right, you might even struggle to maybe take a breath. These are all clues that you're about to be afraid of something, because your body is preparing you for a fight or flight response. And the key is to just tune into your body on a regular basis, so that you know what exactly is happening, because the same feelings that you have for being excited are usually the same feelings that you have for being afraid. So you want to be very careful that you can distinguish which ones those are, and you can correctly identify the signs so that it gives you the correct response. All right, whether you're supposed to run or you're supposed to laugh. Some people don't even know the difference. All right, and one thing that usually happens with a lot of people is because we've become such perfectionists in our ways of life, so much that we don't even accept that fear is a natural human response. All right, growing up, we're being told to be perfect. Perfect little toddlers, perfect little teenagers, perfect little adolescents, perfect everything, perfect wife, perfect husband, perfect whatever you want to call yourself today. See, when you notice that you have um, fear as a response in your body, the more you resist it, the more you actually asking more of it. Nothing makes fear worse than feeling shame about it, because now you're afraid. It's now out in the open and everybody can see it. Oh my God. It's like, have you ever noticed that when you wash your pants, when you wash your hands and water goes on your pants, you feel like everybody can see it. No, nobody's looking at you in all those places. You know what I mean? It's all in your head. Just remind yourself that fear is a normal human reaction. You're afraid? Good. Then that means you're alive. All right? In fact, you can actually be grateful for this reaction, because it's an important indicator of actually what's happening. Your brain is noticing something is out of tune, and you now have an opportunity to respond to it. And there's always an opportunity for you to actually be aware of what's happening. And the more you are aware of what's happening, the more you can actually respond to it in the right format. And you can actually check in to see what's actually happening for you at that very moment. And when you understand that fear is real and is a valid human response, you will definitely find a solution for it, instead of being afraid or being shameful for it. Because you know what happens when we're ashamed of something? We tend to hide it. And when we hide things, they usually come biting us from the bottom. All right? So once you know what's happening, you just pause. Like literally, pause. Relax. Take a deep breath in. Out. Deep breath in. Just pause. Because after becoming aware of the fear, the second step is just to pause. I mean, imagine you pause a movie so that you do not you can go to the bathroom or something like that, or if you run out of popcorn and you're watching Netflix, when you pause, guess what happens? The movie stops. You are freezing time. You freeze the characters. Everything around that TV screen stops moving. You're simply there noticing the non-movement of everything else. So pausing actually creates space, and it gives you time to breathe, like we just did earlier. And you can actually pause for as long as you need, a minute, an hour, a day, or even longer. This is your choice. All right? And once you've paused, you can step back in with a clean head, with a fresh pair of eyes, and you're not just reacting. You're literally responding to whatever it is that's happening. But maybe I can hear you saying, what if I need to respond immediately? I mean, unless you're driving. And what if you don't have time to pause? Just take 2 minutes, man. Step outside, or even just simply take a deep breath. Just take more time if needed. Nothing really. If you set boundaries around your work and your business, nothing is an emergency. Like nothing can ever be an emergency. We work with people's websites, we work with people's emails and things of that nature. Maybe a rogue email might be sent from our platform, or the website might go down. Nothing is an emergency. All right. In that particular moment, you can have time to stop, breathe, and then reassess the situation, and then actually create a best solution. All right. And then you can actually come back when you're calm and more objective. This is very important, because if you react, when you're in fight or flight mode, you're filled up with adrenaline and you don't know whether you're helping or you're actually making the situation worse. So when you pause, you might actually just maybe take a long walk, call a friend, do something different. And while you're doing that, your brain is looking for a solution, and you're literally taking yourself off of that fear. And how do you know when you're done with your pause? Might be a question that you might be having. You will notice that you've returned to a calm state. Your body will always return back to factory settings, and your factory settings are calm and happy. Never be fooled, because the movies that we watch, the TV that we watch, the news is always trying to heighten our feelings so that we forget that we're supposed to be calm and happy. And from this point, you can revisit fear from an even broader perspective. And because you've taken the pause, your brain has had enough oxygen. Now you're looking at it from a different vantage point. And what was your fear, in response to, and then you notice, oh, wait a minute. Is it something that triggered me? Is it an internal something that I have? Is it something that I need to work on? Is that feeling of fear true? Yeah, because some fear can be a lie. So you want to revisit your responses like an independent observer, somebody who's looking at it from, be your own therapist, and think of this as an information gathering session. So what happened? How did I react? And how can I improve a little bit later on? Because once you start questioning yourself, you question the assumptions behind your fears. Anything that we respond to is usually triggered by what is internal. Okay, you might start thinking, wait a minute, what happened to this guy? Is he just being airy fairy? Like I said, if you're passionate about doing the work that you're meant to be doing and living an inspired life while you're actually doing it, this podcast is the right choice for you. And this is when you actually need to subscribe so that you don't miss out on any of these inspiring topics that just come through my head like this. Because my mission, with this podcast, is just to help you as a coach, consultant, or small to medium business to build a brand that you're actually proud of and create a lifestyle that you love, so that you have a business that's profitable and enjoyable. Okay. And, if you are not going to be afraid all the time, and you're literally being objective and responding to things in life in a manner that doesn't put you in jeopardy later on, you, my friend, will have created something that is remarkable. Okay. At the end of the day, you just need to be conscious of what choices you're going to be making as soon as you now understand what you're going through. All right. When you're clear on exactly what you're afraid of, you might be afraid of cold calling people or sending hundreds of emails. But if you know that the things that you're sending out to them are very important and are needed, will you still be afraid? I don't think so. All right. So you need to consciously make a choice. Is what I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Because from this place, you can now ask yourself, what are my options? All right. Because if you really know what you're supposed to be doing, then you're going to be confident on your decision. And guess what? You're not going to be afraid of executing. And if you really know what you're supposed to be doing, your options are endless. All right. And in order for you to see that, you actually need to get out of the spin cycle of fear, fight, flight, or whatever it is. Just choose an option. And if it doesn't work for you, choose another. And the goal for you is to make a conscious decision about how you want to proceed moving forward. And once everything is in play, guess what you need to be doing? Rinse and repeat. You now have trained your body and your brain to, first of all, identify the fear and also isolate what triggered that emotion. Because that's what we call fear management. Because managing fear is not a one and done thing, it's a process. You got to do this over and over and over again. And you might be wondering, why am I speaking like this on a marketing podcast? Let me tell you something, man. At the end of the day, if you don't feel well, you can't do well. Because when I'm working with you, we start looking at your ideal client clarity. If you're not clear on who you can serve best, you're always going to be living in fear. If you are not clear on your actual message, what you're going to be saying to them and when, you're always going to be in fear. All right. And if you are afraid that your offers are not as good as they are, you're always going to be in fear. If you are afraid, your fees are not the best, you're not going to perform the best. You're not going to charge what you're worth. If you don't have a proper business model that is optimized to actually be in alignment to who you are, you're never going to create value for the people you're going to be demanding money off of. So managing your fear is not a one and done thing. And it's not something that you just relegate to, those of the denomination. If it's something very important to you or it feels very threatening to you, this fear is likely to raise head again. So you want to make sure that you get rid of it once and for all. And again, these steps that I've been talking about, you can use them to get through anything in your business and every other aspect of running a business. You could use it when it comes to managing new stuff. You can use it when it comes to balancing your books, driving growth, and a whole lot more. That way, it's not like you have to constantly be balancing, making it out like it's a balancing act where you pulled in multiple different directions. And that's where anxiety kicks in and the fear just sits in as if it's a welcome guest. Eventually, you can train your brain to automatically hit pause and, really relax when you're facing some sort of fear in front of you. So instead of you spinning out of control, you can actually employ this new cycle of returning to calm, serenity now. Consider your options, consciously choosing how you want to move forward. And then you can reset your fear cycle and reclaim your life. A lot of people are losing time, money, and effort, and opportunities to create businesses that are profitable and enjoyable just because they are afraid. They're not taking time to pause. They're not taking time to really assess what's in front of them. So I want you to know something. The next time you're afraid about your business, about your life, or the state of the world, just come back to this podcast, all right? And you'll be able to manage your fear and uncertainty, all right? And because, as you've heard before, and I'll keep repeating this, we can't control everything, but we can control the most important thing out there, how we respond to every situation. All right. So even beyond simply responding, you can, put proactive strategies like I've mentioned in place so you can feel confident knowing you can handle anything that comes your way. If you're a business owner, you're going to have teams, you're going to have clients, stakeholders, vendors, people that rely on you to be calm, even in the face of danger. And if you show any signs of weakness, guess what? Those that can take advantage of you will definitely do that. Okay. I don't know if you've got any tips that you use for yourself for handling the fear that actually work for you. You can always respond back to the email that came with this podcast and let me know how you actually work. But if you are looking for ways to literally take advantage of these challenging times and really create a business that's profitable, enjoyable, I invite you to schedule a call with me so we can work hands-on and develop a strategic plan around your client clarity, your strategic messaging, and your offers. That way, you're not afraid to show up in the best light in the world out there. I can't, imagine a world that I would be showing up and I'm always afraid of who I'm becoming, or I'm always afraid of showing up in the best way possible. And if you can get rid of these fears, you, my friend, will be so far away from everybody else who's not addressing their fears or managing their fears and actually cultivating confidence. Because if you're not confident, you don't build self-trust, and if you don't have trust in your own work, man, what's the whole point in doing this? I think you needed to hear this today. Yeah, do what you may with this information. Fight those fears, feel the fear, and do it anyway. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions, let's continue the conversation in the Live Long Digital community. Become a Live Long Digital community member today. This community is for ambitious entrepreneurs and small business owners with the drive to take control of the future of their businesses and achieve huge success without stress and overwhelm. As you heard, Prosper can help you by teaching you marketing strategies that work. So look no further than the Live Long Digital community of entrepreneurs and highly successful business owners. Join our community today. Find us on www.community.livelongdigital.com.au. Network with other driven entrepreneurs and find the expert guidance you need to take your business to the next level. www.community.livelongdigital.com.au